So when the 33 RPM vinyl record was introduced in 1948, these are what the covers look like. And they were made of this material. It's thin sort of paper board material. They loaded from the top, that's where the records came in, and they were basically folded over. And the design was printed on the paper, the front and this side. They were folded together. There were the flaps here. The record was easily slipped out, and these also served as protection from the records getting scratched. Now eventually the covers were made of thicker cardboard, this a little bit thicker, and as time has gone on, the album cover design really hasn't changed. The cardboard is a little thicker, it's a little bigger of course, being 12 inches, but this is basically the original design and how it continued from there. Along the way though, especially in the early days, there were a few experiments with the album cover. And what we have here to start with is what I call an envelope cover. Jack Fina and his orchestra, Piano Classics on Mercury Records, very early Mercury release. And it's made of the thinner paper material, and there's also a flap right here. It's like an envelope in the back. You have a flap that you flap open, and that's how you move the record from the side, like that. Now there is no way to seal it, any sort of thing like that, but it's just a flap like an envelope, and that is an envelope cover. Another one here from Mercury Records, Frankie Lane. This one as well, the envelope flap, but the design and the colors bleed over from the front cover. So on the back, it stands out like that against the white background. This one opens from the side, and the color scheme continues from the front onto the flap. Then the back is different with the white. The paper is thin still, but it's a little bit thicker than these previous two. These are more like a magazine type of paper, while this is more of the paper board sort of material. This is Nani Hawaii, which is beautiful Hawaii, featuring Jerry Bird with Danny Kuana and his Islanders. Some great early Hawaiian music on vinyl. And another one from Mercury Records, the flap fold over again with the color. Those were all on Mercury Records in the same design, same configurations. And this is a little different from London Records, Waltzing with Mantovani. This time the flap opens from the top, like that, and it's, as you can see, the triangular. It's like a house, but definitely an envelope, and the record comes out like that. The material, still thin, it's the paper board type material. And another one on London Records from Winifred Atwell and her Pianos. This one as well opens from the top, and the triangle at the top there. Now often the thickness of the cover would sort of depend on the budget. If it was a thick, solid cover, that would be, you know, something that was spent a little money on, while there was something like this, which is basically a paper cover, a budget release from Solitaire Records in Canada, probably 1949, maybe 1950 this came out, but it's just basically paper like that. They put it in there, keeps the record safe. This one's had some wear and tear over the years, but still an original. This is a cover that's a thin paper cover, but it's a later release, and it's actually from the United Kingdom. It's a British release and a British pressing, and oddly enough, European pressings were known throughout the years, actually, for many years, as having a thinner sleeve. I don't know why, if it was budget or just design or what it was, but in the UK and the Europe, they printed their records mainly with a thinner sleeve than you would find in their North American counterparts. These are some budget covers from a Canadian company, Solitaire Records, that we saw earlier, and again, they're thinner. These are a little later, maybe late 50s, but they open from the top, and as you can see, the thin material, easier, cheaper to press, and you can see the back is completely identical. This right here is an example of an early Gatefold release. This is Square Dance Party with calls and instructions by Les Gotcher. And it has several examples of square dances for the youngsters. This is sort of from 1951, and this is the time when the youngsters and kids were basically expected to take over from their parents. They were supposed to do what their parents did, work where their parents worked, and square dance just like their parents did. So there was this handy record that taught the kids how to square dance. Now these are 78 RPM records. These are not 33 RPMs, so that's why there is 2 records, because you need to have 4 square dances, and there's 2 per record. So there you have 4 of them there. You open it up. There are examples and instructions on how to do the dances there. And from 1951, a very early example of a gatefold, and this one also, it's thin paper, board material, and it opens from the top. That's how you get the records out there. These are a couple of examples of some unique experiments from London Records, Gracie Fields and Kathleen Ferrier. These album covers are unique because they're thick cardboard and they're also quite large. And you can see together they look sort of normal, I guess, but when you put them with, this is a standard, of course, Bing Crosby 10-inch record, you put them together and you can see how the covers are quite a bit larger. For some reason, London Records decided to try out bigger covers for the same size records. You can certainly see the difference there. And they are quite a bit thicker. These covers, the thin paper board, and these very thick cardboard. You can certainly see the difference there. Very nice cover, some nice colors in there. Kathleen Ferrier, folk songs with the sickle amongst the flowers out in the field. This is a great cover too, Gracie Fields, a program of Gracie Fields' favorites. You have the picture in the program, meant to look like it's on the page, the binoculars, tickets. Very nice colors, flashy, with the yellow and the blue. These covers are part of the Folkways releases that came out in the 1950s and into the 1960s. This one, French folk songs for children. You have Songs of Denmark. Then a Lead Belly release, and then this is a 12-inch, Music from the South. Now the front covers are all different and unique for the style, but it's the back cover where you start to see the similarity. You have this, the title of the album, the songs, and then nothing. And it's a black, it's sort of a tapered kind of finish. The same for this 10-inch on the back, album title, that's it. Then you have the cover, Songs of Denmark, same thing. So they're all thick cardboard, the Folkways covers, and they all have that thick tapered, kind of almost leather-bound feel to them, and they also have something in common. Take out the record here, your typical 10-inch record, but in between some of them you would have an extra piece of cardboard there. You can see that third piece of cardboard right there. Now some of these Folkways records as well, this was sort of cool for the time. This one released in 1957 featured a book inside with all of the lyrics. Also a story about Dan Hangard, who performs, sings all the songs on the album. Then on the back, the catalog of all the other Folkways records available. Then you have the Lead Belly release, which is the same tapered, leather-bound sort of finish, completely blank there on the back. The cover just wraps around to there. Now this record released 1951, maybe early 1952, depends on where you were when it came out. It might have taken a few months to get to you. But it also features an inner sleeve. Whether this was the original inner sleeve, hard to say. Folkways record in great shape. This Lead Belly release also features an insert. Inside you have the story, Lead Belly's legacy, the lyrics inside, and continuing on the back. So 1951 this came out, and just a very unique album cover. Didn't really catch on, the extra piece of cardboard. You can understand why. Not only is it extra thick, maybe harder to store, perhaps it was some sort of safety device or preservation sort of thing, but the cost in adding an extra piece of cardboard would just not really make a lot of sense in the long run. That being said, the 12-inch record, which is an early 60s pressing, also features an extra piece of cardboard. This one you can kind of slip out. So there it is. This is what you would find inside of a Folkways record. Those are some early examples of experiments in the album cover. Eventually things would come around and become pretty consistent when it came to the construction of the album cover. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel and keep an eye out for future episodes of The Art of the Album Cover. And until then, keep spinning.